Hey there, it's John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Now, it's kind of slow this week in the market. You're going to see that as we go through all the cards, but I think this is just kind of an awkward holding pattern as people are waiting to see what's going to happen with the release of Eternal Masters coming up, as well as Eldritch Moon shortly after that, and even Conspiracy shortly after that. So I think folks are waiting right now just to kind of see what happens with spoilers and so on and so forth. Now, Standard had a pretty big week last week, but it's starting to settle into a groove as well. So let's jump in and see what's going on. We're going to start off with Standard, with the top 5 cards that lost value this week. Coming in at number 5, Liliana, Heretical Healer. Now, she lost $1.15 to $27.42. It's not really that significant considering the huge surge she's had recently. Now, she saw a lot of attention during the Pro Tour. Some of those decks have fallen off a little bit, but they all are still seeing play, and this is still seeing a lot of play. Number 4, Pyromancer's Goggles, losing $1.56 to $14.49. Another good example of a card that he had a huge kind of coming out party at the Pro Tour, and it's got a nice little spike from it, and now it's just stabilizing a little bit. Number 3, Archangel Avacyn, losing $1.94 to $37.99. Now, she's still seeing a lot of play. The big difference between Avacyn and, say, like Jace Vryn's Prodigy when it was at its height is the fact that you wanted Jace in almost every deck, and you pretty much wanted 4 of in almost every deck. Avacyn's really for a couple different decks out there, and you're not always even running a 4 of Avacyn, just depending on the build. So this isn't going to get up to like the $80, $90 range or anything like that, but I do think she'll settle into the $30 to $40 range, seeing occasional spikes when she hits a popular deck in the metagame. Number 2, Archangel of Tithes, losing $2.05 to $15.87. Kind of the same story as Avacyn, being a triple white card, not going to fit into a lot of different places, but still sees play in the deck that wants a card like this. And finally, number 1, Jace Vryn's Prodigy. And we've talked about this the last couple weeks. Jace continues to go down, losing $3.15 to $74.22 this week. Now, the thing with Jace is, if you didn't catch the last couple episodes, the card just isn't quite as good in Standard as it was a few months ago when we had fetch lands. Basically, the fetch lands allowed for players to splash Jace very easily, and also the fetch lands going to the graveyard made Jace more powerful. Having said that, Jace still sees tons of play in Standard. Now, I would expect him to continue to fall as he gets closer to rotating out of Standard. You might be able to pick up Jaces for $60, $65 at one point before he goes out of the format, but in the end of the day, this is still a card that sees play in Modern, Vintage, Legacy, among many other formats. So let's face it, Jace is here to stay, and if you can pick some of these up for $60, $65 within a couple months, probably a good investment. Alright, let's look at the Standard cards that have gained value this week. Coming in number 5, Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Now notice this is only an 18-cent increase to $22.99, so it doesn't really mean that much, but it does mean that Gideon is still seeing play, and actually a fair amount of play out there. Number 4 is the Great Aurora, and this is going up 60 cents to $1.60. Now, this is seeing play in a new Standard brew out there. It's basically a Golgari ramp deck that's ramping to Ulamog, but starting to gain a little bit of popularity. Keep an eye on this one. Number 3, Dragonlord Silumgar, and it's gone up 64 cents to $7.46. Again, not very significant here, but it is significant that Silumgar is seeing some play in a couple pretty big decks right now in Standard, Grixis Control being one of them, as well as Seasons Past. So again, another card to keep an eye on. Number 2, Kalitas, Trader of Gets, one of the biggest cards from Oath of the Gatewatch, and this has gone up $1.61 to $31.30. This is going to keep climbing, I feel. It's a good card. It's seeing a lot of play in a lot of different places, and it just fits in so well with the Innistrad theme as well that as Eldritch Moon comes out, there may be even more opportunity for this card, so keep an eye on it. If you haven't picked up Kalitas yet for some reason, and you can get them for $25 to $30, it might not be too bad to help you get through the rest of its Standard life cycle. Coming in number 1 is Nahiri the Harbinger, going up $4.67 to $25.94. Now, this is the second week in a row she has been number 1, and it's not really because of Standard as much as some brews that are coming out in Modern as well as Legacy, where she can easily cheat creatures, big creatures with big abilities, into play. Now, there's also speculation that when Eldritch Moon comes out, this card might also be better in Standard. So all these reasons combined, she's seeing a nice little price spike. Now, whenever you see a price spike, typically there's always kind of a backlash where the card will dip. However, this card I think has a lot of potential. So if you can find these for $20, $25, I'd probably pick them up now. I think this is only going to go higher. Alright, let's move on to Modern. Now, like I said, it's kind of a slow Modern week. There's maybe one card that's kind of interesting, and we'll get to that. But for now, let's look at the cards that lost value. Coming in number 5, Karn Liberated. Lost $1.39 to $45.60. Nothing to really see here, just normal price movement. Number 4, Tezzeret Agent Obolus, losing $1.83 to $37.56. Now, this card saw a little bit of a spike when Sword of the Meek was unbanned, and this is a big part of those decks. Still seeing play. A lot of folks are still brewing with this, but it's just kind of coming down a little bit off that spike. Number 3, Damnation, losing $1.94 to $70. $70, that's crazy. But Damnation saw a little bit of a spike a couple weeks ago, just stabilizing. Number 2, Tarmogoyf. If we're looking at the original Modern Masters version this week, it lost $2.32 to $150.30. Still doing quite well and still seeing tons of play. And finally, Horizon Canopy, going down $2.33 to $81.38. Now, Horizon Canopy is a funny card. I think when we first started doing these market watches, it was like a $60 card. Every week it goes up, and then the next week it goes down. Goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. The problem is it goes up more than it goes down. So here we are, a few months later. This thing's $81.38. I don't know when it's going to stop. I mean, obviously, this is a card that desperately needs a reprint, but it's only going to go up. Don't worry about this $2.33 loss. All right, let's look at the top 5 Modern cards that have gained value this week. Coming in number 5 is Blood Moon. Now, this is the 9th edition version. Only increased 60 cents, so really nothing to talk about here. Went up to $47.05. Number 4, Ancestral Vision, went up 61 cents to $47.16. Again, not a big increase or anything, but it is promising to see that this was recently unbanned and it's still climbing. So it means players are trying to utilize this and folks are trying to brew with it out there. Number 3, Cascade Bluffs, usually seen in Jeskai control decks. It's going up 72 cents to $27.55. Number 2, Auriok Champion, another small increase, 95 cents to $40.09. And finally, number 1, Orzhov Pontiff. Now, this is actually kind of interesting. Gone up $6.65 to $14.71. This is seeing play in a couple different decks right now, but you will find these in Kiki Core decks. You'll also find them in Abzan decks. Now, an Abzan deck actually won Star City Games Open a couple weeks ago, and because of that, this card's getting a little more attention. Now, those decks don't run 4-0s of this card, so I think this price might start to come down relatively quickly, but at least right now, a lot of folks are gravitating to those decks in Modern, and they're seeing a little bit of a spike in some of the cards, including this one. Alright, so let's move on to Legacy now. The story here with Legacy, again, is going to be reserveless cards. They're going up extremely high, and then they're stabilizing, and that's what you're going to see more of again this week. As far as cards that lost value, we're starting off with a reserveless card. Gaia's Cradle, losing $2.24 to $187.63. In the scheme of things, really not a huge loss. Number 4, we have a revised Volcanic Island, losing $3.32 to $334.92. Number 3, Unlimited Plateau. This recently spiked. It's gone down $7.26 this week to $151.48. Number 2, Winter Orb, the unlimited version, losing $15.11 to $67.62. I'm not really sure what's going on with the unlimited Winter Orb and Armageddon. They just go up extremely high one week and just crash the next week. Those two cards, obviously not good investments. So stay clear of this, especially considering this is the one card we're going to see today that's not on the reserve list, I believe. And honestly, you can get different versions of both this and Armageddon in different sets, and it's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot less volatile. Number 1 is Tropical Island Unlimited version. Had a pretty big hit this week, losing $50.15 to $296.23. Alright, so what's gaining value? Well, you can probably guess, a bunch of reserveless cards. Coming in at number 5 is the revised Underground Sea, and this went up $9.02 to $350.39. Number 4 is Unlimited Taiga. This went up $10.05 to $165.73. Number 3, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Val, going up $11.49 to $966.09. This card's been nuts. I mean, a few months ago when we started spotlighting Legacy, this was about an $800 card, and now it feels more like about a $900 card. It has some wild price hikes and losses, but at the same time, it's only because it's such an expensive card and doesn't see a lot of trade on the market. Next, we have Candelabra of Tawnos, and this is another card that's seen a lot of ups and downs recently. This week's going up $12.31 to $375.15. And finally, number 1, we have Volcanic Island Unlimited Edition, and it went up $25.65 to $445.63. So I think the moral of the story here is reserve list cards are just going to continue to do well because they're rare. And collectors that have a lot of extra income to throw around, if they want to invest in something that they feel is going to continue to grow over time, they're going to try to identify some of these cards, and that's what we're seeing. Now, Eternal Masters will come out. I don't really think that it's going to have a huge impact or change what's happening. Reserve list cards are hot now. They're going to continue to be hot, but I think that product's going to be more for folks that play formats like Cube, Commander, Tiny Leaders, Highlander, those type of things, because honestly, let's face it, no matter what they put in that product, if they're not printing things from the reserve list, you can't get the mana bases you need, so you're not really going to be encouraged to get some packs of Eternal Masters and decide you're going to go out there and build a Legacy or Vintage deck in most cases, right? So it's not going to have the same effect on those markets like Modern Masters did for the modern market. It's going to be very different, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to watch, but until then, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.